Welcome to Financial Education for the Nation. My name's Warren Shute, and I'm here today in sunny Norwich with lovely Paul. I was up here last night doing a presentation on my book, The Money Plan, to the Norwich Yes Group, and we had a fantastic turnout. And I really get buzzed and excited every single time I do it. And one of the lovely ladies in the audience says, do you get excited? Oh, sorry, do you get nervous when you present to groups like this? Because it was quite a large audience. I said, no, actually, the larger the audience, the better, because there's more questions, more engagement. Because I'm not coming up with something and trying to pretend to be someone who I'm not. I'm just literally talking to you and sharing with you the things that I do day in, day out with my own clients and what I do in my own home. So, yeah, it's fun and exciting. So before we get stuck into the presentation talking about the discussion with Paul this week, if you've got a presentation you'd like me to hold, as long as there's about 30 to 40 or so people or more, very happy to sort of hook up with you and see if we can get something to work. And also do financial wellness days in companies as well. So we've got some big names on the website we've gone in to speak to. So give me a shout if it can work for you. But Paul, that's the intro. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well, thanks. I'm well. And I think a reasonable intro to what I'd like to pick your brains about this week, which is financial planning. Now, next week, I think it is, Financial Planning Week coming up.
That's
which
right.
Is quite interesting because for people like me who've never visited a financial planner, this is just about rich people paying less tax, isn't it? What's financial planning all about?
This is why I do financial education for the nation. It's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because as a financial planner, our product, our commodity is money. But financial planning is for everyone. Everyone can benefit from good financial planning. And the money plan, my book, goes through the 5 stages or the 5 steps that I would work with any client, whether they earn £1 million a year or £10,000 a year. You know, the numbers aren't as important. There'd be different things that you do, but financial planning is more about the person rather than about the amount of money or the products.
Okay, so the principles you're saying then are the same whether I'm a multi-millionaire or whether I'm on the breadline and trying to get above that.
We're all physical beings, okay, but we run by emotions. That we're all the same. We've all got a similar DNA. I think 99% of our DNA is the same. So what makes us tick, what makes us happy, what makes us anxious are all the same things, whether we earn £1 million a year or have 100 million in the bank, or whether we're on the breadline and earn £10,000 a year. Okay, we're all the same. So financial planning is about the individual, not about the products.
Okay, so then where do you begin with financial planning then? I guess let's begin at the beginning. What happens if I come and see you and I say, right, I want some help sorting out my finances and my financial life? What happens?
Okay, great question, because that's what you would typically come into, and what we try and do is delve a bit deeper than that, because you don't necessarily want help with your products, you want what that's going to give you.
Yeah,
it means to an end. Okay, you want the end result. And typically where we start is, great opening question, how do you want to spend the rest of your life? It's literally an open question for you to sit back and say, wow, that's a bit deep. Never thought about that. But don't we all just get up first thing in the morning? Typically, if we've got children, rush them out the door to school, jump in the car or the tube or wherever it is and get ourselves into work. And then we're on the rat race of the week. Okay. And that week, Monday blurs into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then come the weekend, we kind of then just need a bit of downtime to relax. And what financial planning does is it kind of says, let's stop for a minute. Let's stop and reassess. Life isn't a continuum. We're not on this journey. It's going to go like this. This end date is a fixed date in the future. And this is where we are now. And every single day we're approaching it and getting closer and closer. One day we're going to reach the end date. It's about squeezing enough happiness, excitement, joy, connection between now and the end date. And that's what financial planning does. It's almost like a hybrid cross between coaching and financial advice. It's taking people from where they are today to where they want to be.
Okay, that's quite interesting, because it's not really the impression, maybe I'm being unfair, but it's not the impression that I would have of financial planning, and I'm sure many other people, because typically you might think about it as, like say, okay, I want to minimize my tax, or I want to talk about pensions and that kind of thing. But you're saying it's a much bigger scope than that. It's a mindset thing as much as anything.
Yeah. So I keep linking back to the book because I'm really proud of the money plan, because it's very, very simplistic. It's a very simplistic 5-step process that takes you through the financial planning cycle. In a third of the book is on step 1, which is what's your outcome? What is it, your outcome? So when I stand in front of the audience last night, the first question I asked them was, what is your outcome for the next hour? Because they've taken their time to sit on that seat to listen to me, who they probably don't really know. There was a couple of listeners there, so hi guys, thanks for turning up. But they don't really know me, so they've trusted me. So I want them to make sure that they've written down, they know what their outcome is for that hour. And then at the end of the presentation, we check in and say, okay, did we meet that expectation? If we didn't, what needs to happen for us to meet it? And the same with life. That's on a micro scale. Same with life on a big scale. How do you want to spend the rest of your life? You know, we wake up in the morning, we go and do the things. Are you on a treadmill just doing the do? Or are you making conscious decisions to take yourself closer to the future that you want? And I talk about, it's like, if you wake up in the morning, have your coffee, jump in your car, go to work, come home and watch TV. You're generally making Starbucks to be the best coffee producer in the world. You're jumping in your car, using fuel and making the car auto business profitable. You're going to make your boss wealthy and run a successful business. You come home and get Netflix to take over global entertainment domination. And really, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as parallel to that, we're living our own goals. We're living our own outcomes. And we've got in mind, this is how I want to spend the rest of our life. So we start with a compelling vision, and then we walk through some goals. We tend to set 10-year, 5-year, 3-year, and then 1-year goals. Now, the 10-year and 5-year are quite vague. They're moving you towards something. But the 1 year and 3 years are pretty close. Now, most people can remember what they were doing in 2015, 36 months ago. 3 years nowadays goes rapidly. I think as you get older, time seems to speed up. So it's even more important. In financial planning, it isn't for the youngsters who seem to have a massively long future for them. If you're in your 60s, actuarially, date of death is 88. If you take care of yourself, you're going to go way into your 90s. You've got a lot of time on your side, and we need to plan for that. We need to plan for that with outcomes, what we want to achieve, but also financially. And this is where coaching then comes into financial planning in its realm, really. It's real, where it's probably the best profession in the world, that we can then help people financially organize their money, get financially organized, and make financial decisions so that they can afford and fund those future lifestyles.
Okay, so once I meet with a planner and I start thinking about all this stuff, because maybe it's come quite out of the blue, or maybe I come in with a very clear idea. This is where I'm heading. This is what I want to do. This is why I've come to you today. What's the sort of process that's typically followed? Because you're going to need to know about income and assets and outgoings and all of that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. So like you just said, we pre-frame the potential clients coming in by sending them out a questionnaire before they even come in. So we send the questionnaire because some of the questions we ask, if you're an average person, you'd have never even thought about these things. If you're really into self-development and improving yourself, you might be more familiar. But the average Joe, if I get an accountant coming in, sitting with me, or an engineer, he won't really, or she won't really think about how they want to spend the rest of their life. They're too practical and logical, looking at the day-to-day stuff in the main. So we send the question out beforehand so they can get into that spirit and start thinking about things. And then when they come in, we delve a bit deeper. And then after that, after we've given some kind of idea of some outcomes, some goals that they want to achieve, we then have to start gathering the data. So we need to know any inflows, so any money that comes in, earnings, dividends, interest, benefits, not only now but in the future as well. Any expenditure items, both now and in the future. Is there a particular holiday, cruise, or something that you'd like to do in the future to celebrate a particular anniversary or birthday? Would you like to help your children through schooling or university? Would you like to help them with their house purchase? It's just really about digging deeper and finding out what's important to you and making sure we put a plan together for that. And we look at assets, what money you own, and then liabilities, what money you owe. We gather this information together, and then we actually generally put it into a computer software program, and we start modeling. We start creating financial models of what the future looks like on this path or on this path. And when we create a model, it's basically going to show one or two outcomes. You're going to run out of money, or you're going to have an excess of money. And both of those scenarios are going to need planning. So if you run out of money, we need to ensure that we're putting more money aside so that we can fund that future lifestyle. And that's where a real good financial planner comes into their own, helping you come up with ways of generating more money, earning more money, or reducing your outflows, reducing taxes and reducing spending. Or the second scenario is that you can have a surplus of money. So there's lots of capital when you're age 100. That's generally when we project to. Now, a surplus, an excess of capital there has its own problems of inheritance tax, and actually 40% of that money going away to the Chancellor. So making sure there's planning in place so that we can ensure that that money stays within the family and passes down to generations to support future generations, maybe with future business ventures or education or buying their first home. So that's the sort of journey. So we gather the data in, the data gathering, then we enter it onto a software program and we analyze it. We number crunch. We look at income tax, capital gains tax, inheritance tax. We look at whether the pension funding is sufficient for the future, making sure that the inflows and outflows are at appropriate levels. And if you're at a vesting stage, so you've got a capital sum of money and you're living off the capital, making sure that the capital is invested in a certain way that it's going to at least maintain or outlive you.
Okay, and then I guess just briefly and finally on this, is it an ongoing process then? I mean, how many times do I come back and see you?
Yeah, virtually all of the time. I was going to say typically, but virtually all of the time it's an ongoing process. And I give the analogy of a dentist. You know, you could go to the best dentist in the world and they'd check your teeth over and give you the all clear and say, you've got a fine set of dentures there, okay? But when you leave, if you then just go off and do silly things and then never, ever, ever go back to a dentist, it's not the dentist's fault that your teeth fall out 20 years down the line. And that's with financial planning. We tend to find that taking you from where you are, say, to where you want to go tends to be quite a big shift. We don't want to change things too dramatically in one go, because as human beings, we're creatures of comfort. We like our routine and our habits. We like our comforts in life. So we tweak things and we gradually and incrementally change things. So you change course, and we need to be by your side year in, year out. So we're changing course with you. So you're slightly changing what you're doing, improving as your assets grow, making sure we're banking the gains, making sure your risk tolerance remains the same, as your tax rates change throughout the years, making sure you're doing the appropriate planning. As and when it's appropriate, you're gifting money away to individuals into trust, you're protecting your money, so that this is an ongoing journey. And typically you'll meet with your planner once a year as a generalization.
Okay, all right, thanks. So wrapping all that up then, Financial Planning Week, what does that mean for us? What's the deal here?
Okay, so like you said at the beginning, you didn't realize this is what financial planning is about. And the biggest, financial planning is a fascinating one, because I believe it's generally the best profession in the world. And if you have any youngsters listening to this, or if you have any parents listening with children and not too sure about what profession to go into, financial planning is an amazing profession. It's really, really very, very rewarding. So get them to get involved. But financial planning isn't really appreciated and respected as much in the UK as it is globally. It was one of the fastest growing professions. So a number of years back, we created a thing called Financial Planning Week. And Financial Planning Week is where most financial planners in the UK give up their time to help people understand more about financial planning. And they give these free surgeries away. So for a lot of people, it will just be a free surgery, and that's all they need to know. They'll come in, they'll meet with a planner. The planner can give them some pointings, some tips, get them on the right track. They can then take those skills and that information and go away and do what they need to do with it. But it's really about the financial planning profession getting the word out to the general public. This is financial planning, and this is what it does. And any individual listening and any individual in the UK can take advantage of Financial Planning Week by seeing a certified financial planner that engages in Financial Planning Week. Virtually all of them do. But a certified financial planner. Now, this is different from a chartered financial planner and a chartered wealth manager. I know there's lots of different labels out there, but a CFP, a certified financial planner, is really the hallmark of a true financial planner. They follow the 6-stage process that's laid down by financial planning.
Okay, so where do we go to find one?
It's the Wayfinder website. So you go to the Wayfinder website. We'll put the link in the show notes, so you've got that. And I think quite rightly picked me up on that the YouTube viewers are not necessarily seeing the show notes. So we're going to put a link in the YouTube channel once the blog's written to the blog post, so you can read that too. But all the show notes are on my website, warrenshute.com. So you can go there and see the associated text associated to the video. But you can go to the CISO website and get the information about Financial Planning Week, and go to see there's some freebies on the site that people can do. And also my own site, warrenshute.com. On the download section, there's loads of information, free information and tools to help you take you from where you are now to where you want to be. And if it's not there, message me, tell me, and I'll put something up there to meet the need. If enough people say to me, oh, actually, want it really useful to have this, I can get the resources together and put something up there. And it is a plug, but it's a genuine plug. It's not a plug to get sales. It's a plug to help you. Go and pick up my book. My book, The Money Plan, takes you through the 5 stages that I cover with most of my clients. And it takes you from right at the beginning to right at the end. It's a fantastic process. It will help most of you.
Fantastic. Okay, and just on that, we're heading into the final quarter of the year. So we're officially on the calendar year of the Money Plan. We're on check-in 90-day check-in 3.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So for any of you who's not got the money plan, the first section is what's your outcome, and I break the outcome into chunks, and that chunk also gets broken down into quarters. And the quarter 1, 2, 3, we're now coming to the end of quarter 3 of the year. So that means we're in the final home straight. You've got roughly 90 days to go before the end of the year. What we get you to do is look back over the year and say, well, what did I say I was going to do this year that I haven't yet done? You've now got a bit of pressure on you. Say, okay, let's finish on a high. Let's make sure we take some action. And there's some actions in the book for you to take into how to do daily actions. I have a daily action sheet for you to follow through on. So yeah, you're right. We're end of quarter 3. This weekend, I'll be doing it myself, looking back over the year. What did I start out and say I was going to do? What haven't I done yet? What did I say? Where did I think I was going to be? And then follow through on those. So we finish the year on a high, making 2018 a fantastic year.
Great. Okay. All wrapped up. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Paul. Great to speak to you.